The girl was promised marriage by the prince. She has been cutting through thorns for her fiancé and eliminated all internal and external troubles. However, after Prince Jella ascended the throne, he sentenced the heroine for refusing to marry him and decided to execute her tomorrow. The reason why the prince proposed to the heroine was just to cover up his forbidden love with his sister. So after the prince ascended the throne, he no longer needed the heroine as a shield. It was not until this moment the heroine finally saw the prince's true face. She swore that even if she died today, she would still protect her innocence. So she jumped off the tower. However, the prince just wanted to kill her. He ordered the soldiers to release countless arrows, especially the last spear, which made the heroine unable to avoid her inevitable death. At this moment, the heroine regretted. She shouldn't have accepted the prince's proposal 6 years ago. If she had made another decision at that time, how good it would be. However, at this moment, the world suddenly stopped, and the gears of time began to reverse frantically. When she came to her senses, she heard her parents' voices. It turned out that she returned to the day she was proposed by the prince 6 years ago. This familiar scene, and the same plot. The heroine who lived again decided to change her tragic future fate. So she decided to escape from the palace. But as soon as she arrived on the terrace, Prince Gerald followed closely behind, holding a rose in his hand. She knew that he must be proposing to her. Seeing this, she quickly said her parents were worried and ran away to avoid him. But the heroine knew that to truly get rid of the prince, she must find a reason that makes him unable to propose in public. Seeing the prince approaching her step by step, so the heroine immediately grabbed a lucky guy and said in front of everyone that she had a crush on this person, which made the prince's face instantly turn black. However, when she heard the man's voice, the heroine was completely confused. Although choosing him based on her intuition was right, but in terms of her own life, it was a big mistake. Because this man, but also the prince of the neighboring country, Hades, but also in 6 years he used extremely brutal power. He would drown his kingdom in flames. But what was different from the heroine's impression was, the man looked very innocent, not only knelt down respectfully in front of him, but also comforted him not to be nervous. Facing this huge contrast, even though he had experienced a lifetime, he also fainted uncontrollably. When he woke up, he had already arrived in a strange room. But before he could figure out the situation, Hades appeared, and his first words were astonishing. He asked the heroine to propose to him again, because he wanted to confirm if he was dreaming. While the heroine was speechless, a memory suddenly emerged in his mind. Although he didn't have much contact with Hades in his past life, he knew that he was very cruel and ruthless. During the war, he spared no one, men, women, and children. Everything it passed through would be destroyed. But now he is like a loyal dog, asking if he wanted to lie down and rest or eat something. But the priority is to put on shoes first. Otherwise his feet will be cold. Without caring if he agreed or not, he forcibly put them on him. Just when the heroine thought it was incredible, the prince suddenly broke in and asked her to explain why she didn't accept his engagement. The top management had already decided on it. However, this sentence puzzled the heroine. Combining the experiences of 2 lives, he suddenly realized that the prince's proposal to her today was not an accident, but it was already arranged by both parents. However, in the face of the prince's words, Hades seemed to be unable to hear him. Instead, he thought the prince was a bit noisy. When he was about to take the heroine to another place, the prince didn't mean to let them leave at all. He wanted to take the heroine away by force. However, Hades didn't care. Just a prince. What qualifications does he have to call Sagri in front of him? In this way, Hades left with the heroine in a swagger. After comforting the heroine, he realized that this was not enough to make the prince give up. So he planned to go back directly, without waiting for the heroine's consent. The next second, he teleported to the ship with magic, and then started to set off. In this way, after the sudden departure, he also took out some clothes for the heroine to wear. Although she didn't know how he had women's clothes, but the heroine didn't dare to say, nor ask. The problem now is that she just escaped from the wolf's den. What should he do? Contrary to his anxiety, Hades was completely unaware of it. He kept serving the heroine like this. He let her drink tea, and then he conjured up a cake for her. The latter is the heroine's favorite, although it seems good like this. But at this moment, he suddenly had a question: why Hades was so nice to him. Obviously, this marriage was unreliable, such as the large age gap between them, but Hades thought it was ideal. If there is any deficiency, it would be more perfect if the heroine was 2 or 3 years younger. It would be more perfect. Hearing this, the heroine was immediately dumbfounded. Isn't this pure pervert? How could he take it seriously? However, this joke was overheard by Hades. He began to doubt the heroine's sincerity. Does this mean that her proposal was all a lie? As soon as she said this, the air suddenly became quiet. Although the heroine knew that at this moment, lying is the best, but she didn't want to deceive others' feelings. She was about to say that the proposal was fake. There was a sudden distortion in the room. Then a flying dragon suddenly appeared. He laughed at Hades recklessly. Hades is a love brain, and mistook the heroine for liking him. The heroine didn't know who the dragon was, until she heard Hades call it the dragon god, which reminded him of a legend. It turns out that there are 2 gods in the world. One is the goddess of love and earth, and the other is the dragon god of logic and sky, which are the symbols of their 2 empires. However, now the legend really appeared in front of him, and it seems that Hades and the dragon god have known each other for a long time. Then the dragon god came to the heroine's side, saying that since the heroine could see him, she fully met his requirements. But compared to Hades 19 years old, it was too much. However, Hades scoffed at this, saying that the age difference is nothing. Like his mother, she married a 40-year-old man when she was 16. Oh, you must have done it. I don't care about you. Oh, you must have done it. I don't care about you. However, this statement made Hades misunderstand. Did it mean he didn't meet the heroine's expectations? And when he thought the proposal was fake, he was also very disappointed. Although it was a short dream, he still wanted to say thank you, because it was the first time someone said, spend his life making her happy. After he promised to send the heroine back, only then did the heroine suddenly realize, wouldn't she be back in the hands of the man who loves beauty? Besides, using the proposal to use up Hades, and then dump him when he's no longer needed. So what he is doing now, what's the difference between him and the prince? And Hades didn't look like a bad guy. So the heroine quickly made a decision, that is to fake it and marry Hades, and she would be responsible for his flowers. But Hades thought the heroine was still joking. A woman who lies all the time has the face to talk about responsibility. At this moment, made the heroine think of their conversation in the past life. After their country was defeated, he hoped to become a prisoner himself and let Hades retreat. The most impressive sentence to her at that time was, this was the first time the girl felt loved. She never thought she would get this kind of happiness. She never thought that. Hades, the emperor, promised to wait until she was an adult. Let the whole country witness their wedding. The dragon god also offered his blessings. And this ring is the evidence of their loyalty. Although this development was a bit sudden, but they can only take one step at a time. The evil prince in the previous life of the heroine not only used the reason of engagement, used her to clear all internal and external troubles, but was also discovered. His incestuous love with his sister. He sentenced the heroine to death. Now in this life, facing the sudden happiness, makes her overwhelmed. However, just as he was about to make a decision, the ship they were on was suddenly attacked. Hades wanted to fight back, but he was paralyzed by seasickness. So in a hurry, the heroine had to do it herself. She was surrounded by magic. The next second, she threw the hundreds of tons of ship directly out. Then, when facing the incoming shells, she punched it back and blew it up. It turned out that the heroine was a Valkyrie in the previous life, and now she still retains her magic after rebirth. Meanwhile on the shore, a huge ship suddenly fell from the sky. It turned out that the heroine just threw it like this. She threw the ship to the country where Hades was, and flew back with him. After learning that the emperor was injured, the soldiers didn't dare to neglect. As soon as the heroine got off the ship, she found a woman in gorgeous clothes very panicked, and kept asking what happened to the emperor, especially this time when she returned home. why she brought a little girl back. The one who was talking was one of Hades' fiancées, Sophia. At this time, she also saw the heroine and found that she was just a little girl, which also made her curious. What despicable means the heroine used Hades away from him. So, after gently insulting the heroine as a cheating cat, he left in a hurry. Of course, the speechless heroine didn't bother with him. She suddenly remembered something. It was in the previous timeline, when everyone celebrated the Emperor's return, held to celebrate the Emperor's return, because her confession was tragically rejected. Therefore, he murdered all the candidates for his fiancée, and finally set fire and committed suicide. But now, no matter how the heroine looked at it, Sophia doesn't seem like the kind of person who could do that. At this time, a knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. It turned out that Hades woke up, but seeing his outfit, the heroine was shocked. Then she learned that he followed the book's teaching on maintaining marital harmony and baked some croissants himself. The heroine was really confused. She couldn't imagine what he thought was the brutal emperor would do. However, reality was even more outrageous than he thought. After being slapped, Hades immediately talked about the business. He told the heroine the reason why they were attacked. It was probably the Marquis Belle's doing. The Marquis had hinted at rebellion before. Originally, although he was the emperor, he was not popular, because he was cursed emperor. Hearing this, the heroine was also curious, because whether in his past life or in this life, he didn't understand what the so-called curse meant. Bakudo Kimini is skinny. Not the whole scene though. Kimio skinny, not Italian eye. Then Hades told the heroine again. Actually, he was originally the last in the line of succession, since his mother was a concubine, so only one of him and his brother could stay in the capital, and he was the one who was abandoned. The reason was that his mother thought he was weird. He could see the dragon god that others couldn't see, but also always talking to himself. Originally, after being sent to the border, he was out of the running for the throne. But strangely, every year after his 11th birthday, a prince would die in a strange way, one after another in the following years. But the most outrageous thing was that the prince suffocated while washing his face in the morning. Hearing this, the heroine looked at the dragon god with suspicion. Of course, the dragon god knew what he meant, so he quickly explained. He didn't do anything. Although in this country, there is a legend that only the chosen one who sees can become the emperor. After 100 years, only one person, Hades, has appeared, but he didn't need to interfere at all, because no matter what happens, Hades would eventually become the emperor. Then Hades continued to explain. A series of strange things made his father finally realize something was wrong. Sure enough, after he was made the crown prince, the strange phenomenon also stopped. However, what's even more bizarre is that not only did his father suddenly disappeared, but his mother also died suddenly on the coronation day. So it spread from person to person. The cursed emperor was born. But fortunately, the only remaining brother supported him and persuaded others. Before that, the domestic situation was relatively calm. The heroine also suddenly realized, but she was suspicious of the brother mentioned by Hades, because the one who leaked information and betrayed him was the good brother he mentioned. But Hades obviously hadn't noticed these. He just told the heroine she doesn't have to worry about his curse anymore, because with the heroine who can see the dragon god as his wife, his curse should fade away. But he also quietly added. The next morning, the heroine changed her clothes and went out to follow Sophia, to see what he was up to. It turns out that Sophia's other identity is the daughter who prepares to rebel against Marquis Belle. According to the banquet, Sophia's abnormal madness at the banquet, the heroine felt that something would happen today, and at this time, the soldiers next to her made her feel something was wrong. These soldiers, not only did they look different from her impression, but also discussing what signal to wait for. Before the heroine could think more, the gate on the other side was suddenly closed. A group of soldiers also broke into the church and claimed to be from Clothos, and they wanted to take Sophia away without saying a word. And the Kratos they mentioned is the country where the heroine originally lived. But he doesn't remember this. So in order to get close to the truth, The heroine made a bold decision. Meanwhile, on the other side, Marquis Bell came to question Hades, saying that just now, an unknown force not only occupied their northern port, but more importantly, his daughter had been kidnapped. Obviously, all of this was done by Hades' spy. Otherwise, how could things be so coincidental? At first, Hades didn't know what Marquis Bell meant, but when he learned that he would be responsible for quelling the unrest, but the price was that he would be in charge of the northern port, Hades immediately understood his purpose. He agreed to the terms he proposed. But in return, if the truth of the matter differed from what he said, Hades would make him pay a painful price. Pay a heavy price. At the same time, in the small dark room, Sophia and the heroine were both locked up here. But the heroine was deliberately caught. Her purpose was to take this opportunity to inquire about information. She asked Sophia what she was doing here today. Sophia didn't recognize the heroine, but was grateful for his bravery, so she told everything without any defense. It turned out that it was her father, Marquis Bell, who asked her to come here. She didn't expect to be caught by the enemy, and from her words, the heroine heard that he didn't think of his father at all. The only regret was that he was afraid he would never see Hades again. It turned out that when he was once isolated by everyone, Hades came to his rescue. Although he was a bit eccentric, the first time they met, he asked if there was anything on his shoulder. He just told the truth and saw nothing. But he didn't expect that for some reason. His father scolded him severely. But fortunately, Hades' attitude towards him remained. Until not long ago, he finally couldn't help confessing, but was rejected. The reason was that he was not under 14. Although this made the heroine a little speechless, but it also made him more certain of one thing, that Sophia's nature is not bad, but was just used as a sacrifice by her father. At this time, 2 more people were caught. But when she saw the appearance of the 2, the heroine was shocked. They were not only real Clothrosians. More importantly, they were both his most loyal subordinates. She burst into tears instantly, because they had died in the previous life. It was not until then the heroine thought she would lose many relatives in 6 years. But fortunately, all of this hadn't happened yet. So thinking of this, the heroine finally realized what she wanted to do after her rebirth. Then the heroine stood up. She slightly exerted her hands to trap them. The shackles on her hands were instantly broken like toys. This outrageous scene, which shocked the 3 of them, but the heroine didn't have time to explain, and quickly helped them unlock the handcuffs. Then the heroine wiped away the tears of Aishi, and began to analyze the current situation with everyone. First of all, it can be confirmed that the soldiers stationed in the north had a large number of hooligans mixed in. They used their soldier status to close the gate, separating the town from the port, and captured Marquis Bell's daughter as a hostage, and took the Marquis Bell's daughter as a hostage. At this time, Sophia also said that when she was taken away, some information she heard, that the conspiracy was planned by the Emperor's spy girl. Hearing this, everyone immediately understood. The mastermind behind the scenes must be Marquis Bell, because there were too many coincidences today. The Emperor, Hades, just returned with an unidentified woman. Sophia just happened to be in this remote place. Most of the soldiers were transferred from the port. All these coincidences suggest that Marquis Bell's purpose, to belittle the Northern Legion guarding the port, and then replace it with his own army. And in order to make this drama more realistic, Marquis Bell even sacrificed his daughter Sophia thereby, and blamed the crime on the heroine brought by Hades. Hearing this, Sophia was completely panicked, because she knew very well her father was such a ruthless person. So in order not to implicate innocent people, Sophia asked them to run away quickly. She would hold off the rogue soldiers. After all, she was the daughter of Marquis Bell. They definitely wouldn't dare to do anything to her. And she was also a friend of the Emperor. At that time, he will definitely tell Hades. To Hades, the heroine recalled why every time she asked Camilla and Chick why they came to Clothos, they always refused to say. Because if things went according to Sophia's plan, although she successfully helped others escape, he would have to bear all the shame brought by his father. And this is probably the reason why at tonight's banquet. Why why Sophia would kill the other fiancé candidates. The reason. So in order to change this established fact, the heroine also reveals her true identity, and directly exposed that she was the spy girl mentioned by Marquis Bell, and told the people present they still have a chance to turn things around. So the heroine immediately began to deploy. First, she needs to liberate the imprisoned Northern Legion, then retake the port from the traitors. The second is to protect Sophia. After all, she is a key figure. Once she died here, all the hopes of exposing Marquis Bell would be dashed. Although the heroine promised to protect her, she also has an unspoken request. That is, she hoped that after the incident, could accuse her father of all his crimes. Facing such a difficult decision, Sophia's heart beats faster, and her expression began to daze. But after thinking again and again, she agreed to the heroine's request. Meanwhile, on the other side, Hades had already seen through. It was all a conspiracy by Marquis Bell, according to his idea, just to kill her directly. However, although the dragon god did not object, he said the heroine would definitely not like this approach. So after thinking again and again, Hades decided to let the dragon god go and see the situation. But if something happens to the heroine, he would intervene with the safety of the heroine first. Because in his opinion, Marquis Bell is just a pawn that can be discarded at will. The reason why he acquiesced to the other party's actions was to use him to find out the real mastermind behind the scenes. Inside, after getting Sophia's consent, he immediately gave the battle command. Jade is responsible for leading the way to rescue the trapped Northern Legion, while Camilla and Chick were responsible for protecting Sophia. Then the heroine took a deep breath, and then with her fist, to punch through the indestructible small dark room. Seeing this scene, they were both confused. They didn't expect the heroine's strength to be so powerful. Thanks to the heroine's amazing strength, she rescued the Northern Legion imprisoned in the cult. Then the heroine told everyone it was all Count Bell's conspiracy, so he needed everyone's power. Finally, with the encouragement of the heroine, he successfully became the leader of these soldiers. They will also retake the port in the name of the Emperor. And all of this were all seen by the dragon god. After returning to Hades, he immediately told the Emperor. To the other party, the most handsome one was catching bullets with bare hands. Of course, if things went smoothly according to the heroine's plan, whether it was Sophia and the Northern Legion, or Marquis Bell, Hades would not have to rule by terror, but also be an emperor who is not hated by everyone. With the efforts of the heroine, she might really be happy for a lifetime. However, just as Hades was moved, a group of blind soldiers rushed in and shouted that Marquis Bell sent them to protect the emperor, hoping the emperor would leave with them now to a safe place. Hades naturally knew that this was Marquis Bell, wanted to isolate himself from the heroine. Meanwhile, after the heroine finished attacking the port, she retreated to the church with Camilla and Chick. Not long after they arrived, the leader of the other side appeared. He said that as long as the Northern Legion handed over the heroine, they would evacuate the port. Otherwise, they would burn the church. However, the heroine was not panicked. She was about to go out and defeat the entire army alone, but was dissuaded by all the soldiers. After all, in their eyes, the 10-year-old heroine would be courting death. However, the heroine asked them not to worry. After all things had come to this point, she would never let the plan fail. Then, after the heroine quietly told Camilla her plan, and asked him to tie her up and hand her over. However, the moment they saw the heroine, the other party directly planned to kill her. As a result, the heroine slapped him. The entire army was paralyzed. Not only that, all the ships in their port were also destroyed by the Northern Legion. In this way, their way out was gone. Unexpectedly, the leader was not panicked, because he still had a trump card, which is the priest of the church, who could kill Sophia in an instant. However, he miscalculated, because the heroine had already arranged for Zeke. Keep an eye on the priest. In this way, the heroine's side won a great victory. Seeing that the defeat was certain, the leader had to admit he followed the orders of Marquis Bell to seize the port. But at this moment, Marquis Bell came with his private army and blocked everyone at the church gate. And his purpose is very simple. was to kill everyone here, including his daughter. In this way, he could decide what would happen next. And the reason why he has such confidence was not bluffing. With a wave of his hand, a giant dragon appeared in the sky. The heroine knew it was dangerous. If she doesn't confront the dragon head-on, he would burn the church to the ground. However, at this critical moment, the dragon suddenly trembled and knelt down on the ground. As for why it happened, it was because the male protagonist, the Dragon Emperor, came to save his wife. Then Hades jumped down and then waved his hand, telling the troublesome flying dragon to get out. Seeing Hades' appearance, Marquis Belle immediately knelt down and took the initiative to say, "Bow, sir." It was all the spy, the heroine, who was causing trouble. Don't be fooled by her lowly appearance. He suggested that they should go back to the palace to rest and leave the rest to himself. Seeing Hades' face immediately turn black, Marquis Belle thought his plan had succeeded. But after Hades put down the heroine, he grabbed the rogue soldier in disguise. Just with one look, he scared the soldier to death. As for the other soldiers who were loyal to him, Hades not only praised their performance, but even called out each soldier's name. After all, recognizing the appearance and name of his soldiers is the attitude that a king should have. Then Hades put down the rogue and asked him, as a member of his northern army, shouldn't he confess to himself? Who ordered all this? Normally, he would usually just destroy them, but this time he didn't do that, because he knew that the heroine wanted to save everyone here. So he chose to put down the butcher's knife, without killing intent. But despite this, Hades' patience is still limited. He asked the rogue to say quickly, who was the mastermind behind this matter? Hearing this, the rogue was not stupid. Since the Dragon Emperor gave him a chance, he naturally couldn't miss it. At this moment, all the hooligans who infiltrated the Northern Legion were all intimidated by Hades' powerful aura and surrendered. The leader of the hooligans said his name was Hugo. He would only obey the command of the Dragon Emperor. Then he said that the Marquis Belle was the mastermind behind it. After getting the satisfactory answer, Hades told Marquis Belle his wife was innocent. Therefore, he wanted to hear what Marquis Belle would say. However, the unyielding Marquis Belle just wanted to argue. However, in the face of such humiliation, Marquis Belle still wanted to argue. But Hades didn't plan to listen to his nonsense anymore. After all he had said before, if his wife was innocent, then the fate that awaits Marquis Belle, he would only die. As for the method of punishment, needs to be thought about. After all, someone like Marquis Belle, who even sacrificed his own daughter, it's not easy to die. Speaking of which, Hades remembered the Marquis' second. His wife and daughter seemed to be doing well. Hearing this, Marquis Belle suddenly changed his face. And Hades also saw that he seemed to care a lot. So he planned to start with them. In response, Hades offered two options, burning and torture. Hearing this, Marquis Belle immediately surrendered and begged Hades humbly to spare his wife and daughter. Hearing this answer, Hades was very happy. After all, he didn't want to hurt innocent people for such a small matter. The premise is that Marquis Belle must beg in the most humble way for his forgiveness and hand over his city. At this time, Sophia was very worried about her father. But the heroine reassured her that it was okay, because as long as he admits his crime and hand over the castle, Hades would not harm his life. However, as soon as the heroine finished speaking, Marquis Feyre suddenly spoke sarcastically. Hades, for someone like you who can drive your mother to hang herself, are really too kind. And before you ascended the throne, how many people you have killed? And how many people you have killed? Don't you have any idea? On the contrary, I just want to protect my land from being implicated by a cursed emperor like you. And in the entire empire, no one wants to be ruled by you, and no one wants you to continue to live. Hearing this, the heroine was about to get angry, but Hades spoke first. Maybe you're right. But anyway, I am the king of a country, so I don't need your understanding at all. After that, Hades didn't want to waste any more words. He ordered the soldiers to send Marquis Belle to jail. As for Sophia, the daughter of the criminal, was in charge of entertaining by Camilla. However, the incident ended perfectly, but the heroine's mood was still a little uncomfortable. So at night, the dragon god, who likes to watch the excitement, took the heroine to Hades' room. However, the unsuspecting heroine just entered the room. She smelled a strong smell of alcohol. Seeing Hades in great pain, the heroine was terrified, so she quickly applied a hot towel to Hades. Soon Hades woke up. Seeing this, the heroine hurriedly picked up the fruit and asked her what she wanted. Hades said he wanted an apple, but the heroine was in a daze. After all, it's okay for her to kill someone with a knife, but peeling an apple is like cutting someone's throat. This scene made Hades laugh. Unexpectedly, the heroine had such a clumsy side. Then, Hades picked up the heroine and sat on the bed, and then patiently taught her how to peel an apple. This smooth technique left the heroine stunned, so he casually asked if she could make a rabbit, although he immediately said it was a joke. But he really hoped be a girl who can do these things. However, what the heroine didn't expect was that Hades actually did it for her. Is this what is called genius? In fact, there is no such thing as genius. It's just a sweet and sour smell. But then again, the reason why Hades made this, just hoped that other siblings to like him more. Hearing this, the heroine felt bad inside, so she asked Hades to open his mouth. After all, he was drunk. It was only natural for her to take care of him. Seeing Hades' cute expression, the heroine also smiled happily. But then she thanked Hades because of those hooligans in Marquis during the day, as the Emperor Hades could have executed them on the spot, but he chose to let them go for himself. Then the heroine held Hades' hand and told him affectionately, whether you are cursed or something, even if everyone in the world doesn't want you to live, no matter what, I will always stand behind you. Hearing this, Hades' face turned red instantly. This is undoubtedly that the heroine has fallen in love with him. Otherwise, how could she say words to let him live strong? Hearing this, the heroine was really convinced. These words, it's just a word of concern between family members. This answer made Hades feel like he was poured cold water. So she got into the bed and shivered. Seeing this, the heroine seemed to have misunderstood her. So she quickly got into the bed and became a warm baby for her. Facing this sudden happiness, the heroine turned around. After all, the prince in her previous life caused her the most terrifying hurt in history, so she couldn't accept it for a while. Others fell asleep thinking about it, but Hades looked at the sleeping heroine. He longed for her love. The next morning, Hades made a special sandwich for the heroine, a baguette sandwich, which made the heroine very happy. So now you should love me. Hearing this, the heroine was confused again. She really doesn't understand this topic. How many times does Hades want to discuss this topic? The answer is, of course, until the heroine agrees. And recently, even the heroine's indifferent gaze at herself. She even likes. The heroine is really convinced. Isn't this a typical love brain? Just then, Camilla and Chico interrupted the two. It's time. The heroine should go to the aristocratic etiquette class. Then on the way, Camilla noticed the dragon ring in the heroine's hand. The heroine explained that it was given by Hades and can't be taken off. And the dragon god also said that as long as she stayed by Hades' side, the curse would not happen. For this rumor, the heroine wanted to know who cursed her. When Yin Chika said that if the myth is true, it must be the curse from the goddess Keto. Only then did the heroine remember the previous history. The goddess and the dragon god had a war over the issue of how humans should be treated. One side believed that love should be used to protect, while the other believed in leading with logic. So a continent was divided into two countries, and the two gods were destined to get married. But in the subsequent war, the land of Hades' kingdom was cursed by the goddess. But the dragon emperor found a dragonfly with incredible magic powers. He imposed a magic shield between the two countries to protect the land from the curse of the goddess. After listening to the stories of the two, the heroine instantly understood why Hades said that if he was here, the curse would not be activated. The strongest proof is the dragon ring on his hand. Just then, Sophia came in a panic. Although she fell on her face, she still successfully delivered the letter from the kingdom to the heroine, and the heroine just glanced at it. Her expression suddenly became nervous. because this note was not written by anyone else, but written by the scum prince who killed her in her last life. As the envelope slipped from the heroine's hand, Hades also arrived at this moment. When he saw the contents clearly, he realized that the prince of the enemy country was coming to snatch her. Hades said a very manly sentence. Meanwhile, on the other side, the scumbag prince asked his men to move at full speed. He needs to reach the port of Bell Castle in the shortest time. After all, the heroine was the most important stepping stone in her life. But at the most critical moment, she said she would marry the dragon emperor of the enemy country. This sudden accident made her unable to believe it, so she wanted to confirm it herself. The heroine, whether she really became the monster's dragon concubine. At the same time in Byre Castle, the heroine, in order to receive the scumbag prince with the hero, she specially changed into her most hated dress. Thinking of meeting that scumbag, the heroine not only looked disgusted, but even planned to tie a hidden weapon to her stockings. Hearing this, everyone was really convinced. Although they don't know why the heroine hated the scumbag prince so much, but this diplomacy is to confirm whether she was abducted by the dragon brother. Therefore, Sophia suggested that the heroine should keep smiling, so that the scumbag prince can see that she is very happy here. Tieja, Sophia took the heroine to Hades. The heroine's lowly dress style perfectly touched Hades. Hades immediately gave a flowery compliment, which made the heroine's face turn red. At this time, Camilla interrupted them, because the meeting time was coming soon. Then on the way, the heroine suddenly told Hades she couldn't help it. She couldn't smile sweetly at the scumbag prince, because she only has full murderous intent towards him. However, hearing this, Hades instantly turned black. He didn't understand why the heroine has been thinking about that scumbag prince instead of himself. Could it be that there was some unknown secret between them? The heroine was also confused. She didn't understand what Hades was talking about. After all, she couldn't tell that the prince of scum killing her in 6 years. Because of this, Hades decides to change his plan, to leave the heroine here. But how could the heroine agree? She would go with Hades no matter what he said. This scene made Camilla and Chico speechless at this time, and still showing affection there, so they quickly interrupted them and reminded them not to forget to keep a friendly expression. Seeing the heroine's embarrassed expression, Hades told the heroine, "There is actually another way, but it would be a bit cruel for the heroine." Hearing this, the heroine didn't care so much. She firmly stated that no matter how much Hades did, he would not be angry. So with the heroine's repeated assurances, Hades asked the heroine to think of herself all the time, and then took advantage of his confusion. He directly kissed her. This made Camilla and Chico dumbfounded. They didn't expect that the dignified king would do such a thing to a little girl. Hearing this, Hades didn't care at all. After all, this is the best way to show affection. Although the heroine said she wouldn't be angry, but her first kiss was taken away. The fourth one. Immediately after that, Hades met the scumbag prince with a slap mark on his face. The prince immediately asked the heroine some questions, but the heroine refused and said she had nothing to say to him. Seeing this, Hades also quickly smoothed things over, saying that he had just quarreled with the heroine, so he was in a bad mood. But the prince was also responsible for this. After all, it was his sudden letter, saying he wanted to take the heroine back home, which made him jealous and question the heroine. But he was slapped in return, but was also suspected by him, whether he didn't believe in his love. Hearing this, the heroine finally understood why Hades had to make him angry. Although he still felt very upset, the prince also didn't expect Long D would bow to a woman, so he couldn't say anything more. Even though the misunderstanding of abduction was resolved, the prince still stalks her. What he doesn't understand is that the engagement between them had already been made. Being his concubine was just a matter of time. Now why would the heroine give up her family and hometown? Of course, the heroine couldn't tell him the future. What's more, after getting along with him recently, he knew that Hades needed him more at this time. The prince said he understood. In a word, it's to make the dragon prince not need the heroine. Right then, The prince stated the conditions for the engagement. Must be under 14 years old, female under 14. She must have magic power, and can see the existence of the dragon god. And all these conditions are all just to prevent his own curse. Then on the contrary, isn't it? As long as the heroine can't prevent the dragon emperor's curse, it will do. Meanwhile, he also heard about the Marquis rebellion. He knew very well that the dragon emperor didn't execute the Marquis to make the people believe that he was not a cursed emperor. What if Marquis died by accident? However, as soon as he finished speaking, Hades received an urgent report from his subordinate that Marquis Bell hanged himself in prison. Then Camilla reported the details to the heroine, and Sophia was going to confirm the body. Now the town is being spread by someone. It was all the curse of the dragon emperor. The heroine knew it was the scum prince's doing, using the death of Marquis Bell to give him an excuse to crusade the cursed dragon emperor. After all, in the future he knew she would die by this method. Camilla suddenly told the heroine, the night goddess legend has a second half. At that time, the magic shield blocked the curse of the earth goddess. So she was angry. She knew her true form would be rejected by the shield. So she turned herself into a black spear and asked someone to take her in. Hearing this, the heroine knew it was the holy spear passed down by the royal family. Hearing this, Chica was also surprised. She thought it was just like the dragon emperor's sword, just an ordinary legend. Then Camilla got back to the point and said that the black gun finally crossed the ocean and successfully entered the dragon god empire. The people of the magic kingdom offered the black gun to the dragon emperor and his wife, but the black gun pierced Fei Long by itself. Long Fei realized that the black gun was the goddess, so he sacrificed his life, trapping the goddess in his shadow. Since then, the magic shield completely disappeared, and the goddess could no longer return to human form. The curse on the earth also disappeared. At this time, Sophia came back from prison, and suddenly a black gun appeared in his hand. What's wrong with you? At this moment, Hades suddenly appeared. Seeing that he was about to stab Sophia to death, the heroine quickly pulled Sophia away and told Hades Sophia was possessed by something dirty. Hades naturally knew this, and he is now preparing to kill them both. Hearing this, Sophia, who was possessed, began to go crazy. She raged at Hades. He wanted to kill the only one who loved him. In the meantime, the black gun's body moved again and rushed towards the heroine directly. But fortunately, at the critical moment, Hades intervened again, saving the heroine. Then the black gun turned into a human figure, saying that he was the only one. Now the heroine was not happy and directly crushed the shadow with her bare hands. Afterwards, Hades was dissatisfied with the heroine. Why did she stop him just now? After all, that woman is very cunning. Maybe there is still a part of her left in Sophia's body. Therefore, he hoped the heroine would hand over Sophia. But the heroine insisted on protecting Sophia and was angry that the shadow dared to call himself Long Fei, while she was just a fake. He was the rightful husband with the Long Fei ring. Hearing this, Hades dared not face the heroine. He didn't expect to be accused of infidelity, but from someone who didn't love him at all. As soon as he said this, the heroine was stunned and speechless to refute. Then Hades immediately ordered to gather all the women in the town to the castle, especially those over 14 years old. If they don't obey, they would be executed on the spot. If they resist, they would be charged with treason. Such a tough approach, which made the heroine worried about provoking public opposition. But at this time, Hades had no to care about these. Once the shadow finds a suitable container, the entire town will be doomed. Hearing this, the heroine finally understood. The goddess who can't return to her original form was awakened at the age of 14, and the dragon emperor only wants a partner under 14, not because of lowly control, but because people at this age absolutely cannot be the container of the goddess. Then, Hades ordered to take Sophia to his enchantment, to be strictly watched. But when he was leaving, he muttered to himself that he was willing to make concessions to his wife. After venting, the heroine didn't expect that the legend of the dragon god and the goddess was true, but now she was caught between the two gods. Thinking of what Hades had done for her, the heroine decided to apologize to Hades. But when she opened the door, she met Hades coming to her. Seeing their hesitant behavior, the dragon asked him to apologize to the heroine. Hades was arrogant and said he was not wrong, but he was afraid that she would dislike him if he didn't. At this moment, the heroine took Hades' hand and found that the injury hadn't healed, so she planned to pull him into the house for magic treatment. But Hades asked her not to be so gentle with him anymore, which made him unsure how to respond. Hearing this, the heroine also complained that he always said so. She doesn't want to be hated by him and wanted to be liked by him, but he never wants to take the initiative to approach her, and he never even called her name once. Long Shun was about to explain the reason, but was stopped by Hades. Perhaps it's better this way. They shouldn't have fallen in love with each other. Otherwise, it would only be the beginning of hell. At this moment, the guard suddenly came to report. There were multiple fires in the town, and the rioting people were approaching the castle. Hades looked cold, asking the dragon god to protect the heroine, while he turned around and killed all the guards with ill intentions. Even if they just wanted to protect and get back their wives and daughters, they did so. But Hades had already said that his purpose was to protect them, although he knew no one would believe him, and knew that the rioting residents wanted his head. So he ordered everyone should prioritize putting out the fire at all costs. As for other issues, he would handle them alone. Although Hades protected the heroine with a barrier, but through the memories of her past life, he had already guessed that the arson plan was planned by the Scum Prince. Therefore, he immediately sent Camilla and Chico, and were ready. And sure enough, when they arrived at the designated location, they found that the location of the fire was exactly the same as Marquis Belle's previous plan. Moreover, there were also a group of people inciting the people to hunt down Long Ding. Soon they noticed that a group of men in black were evacuating quickly. Upon closer inspection, the Marquis Belle who should have died was not only there, but the leader was the Scum Prince. Apparently they had finished their work and were ready to escape by boat. On the other hand, the dragon god told the heroine not to worry, because as long as Hades wanted to, he could burn the town to ashes in an instant. Of course, if he did so, he would be more lonely than he is now. Then the dragon god told the heroine, the black guns that appear now are just part of the goddess's soul, so she needs a 14-year-old girl as a container to resurrect herself. Even if the container is not a suitable one, she can still control the other person, and Sophia belongs to the latter. As for the heroine, is to protect Hades, the magic shield of love, because the goddess of love, once she falls in love with someone, will go crazy and do whatever she wants. And her goal is to marry the dragon brother. Hearing this, the heroine asked the dragon god to marry the goddess. Isn't it all over? The dragon god said it wouldn't work, because the goddess's goal is to marry her reincarnated Hades. As a weapon to protect the dragon brother, it is impossible for him to let Hades marry other weapons. Besides, even if Hades and Black Gun really get married, with the goddess's perverted and extreme personality, would definitely kill all the women on the continent. The heroine would definitely be the first to be killed. After all, she couldn't tolerate the existence of her ex-wife. Hearing this, the heroine became even more confused. If she was Hades' magic shield, why is she being locked up now? After all, as long as he possesses himself, and then used the heavenly sword to stab herself to death, then everything would be perfect. The dragon god confirmed the heroine's answer. He also returned to his true form. The dragon god is the legendary heavenly sword, which is the key weapon to assassinate the heroine. As for why he protects the heroine now, the answer is obvious. That is, Hades really fell in love with the heroine. Although he originally planned to use the heroine, but after getting along with her, Hades found that he was really attracted to her. Therefore, he would do whatever it takes to protect her. Hearing this, the heroine also made up her mind. Since only the heavenly sword can defeat the goddess, then let him use the heavenly sword to defeat the goddess. Isn't it good? Hearing this, the dragon god thought the heroine was fooling around. But the heroine told him that she can see the future. Because of this, Hades burned down the Bell Castle to ashes. Therefore, led his brother and the scum prince to find an excuse to join forces and attack the empire, to protect his people Hades, to kill people. But what he got in return was gossip and isolation. Now he has a chance to change this future. So the heroine begged the dragon god for help. Of course, if the plan fails, she is willing to give her life, asking the dragon god to kill her and the goddess together. At this moment, the heroine's anger reached its limit, because Hades kept saying he wanted to protect her, but she never asked for help from others. But even so, the heroine still fell in love, although she doesn't know whether Hades is a man worthy of her love. Anyway, he is going to save the person he likes now. Saying that, the heroine slashed the barrier with a sword. Meanwhile, on the other side, Hades recalled his childhood. Since he was a child, he found that he seemed to be different from other family members. The dragon god apologized to him, because Hades was his reincarnation, so he also had to bear the burden he brought. Hades didn't mean to blame the dragon god. After all, he knew that it was all the curse of the goddess that caused his relatives to disappear one by one. So in order to solve the curse, he began to study hard, to become a good emperor, and gradually became strong enough to protect everyone and not be hurt by the goddess. But now, his own people are accusing him as the emperor. In the midst of the people's curses, Hades' heart began to waver. He knew very well, everyone is like his older brother, actually hate him, and even don't want him to live. Thinking of this, Hades became more and more confused. Could it be that? Is it time to stop fantasizing about the future? Is it time to destroy it all with his own hands? At this time, Hugo arrived here. But Hades only asked him to take all the soldiers, retreat to the port. The next thing, he would handle it alone. However, just as Hades was struggling with whether to act, the sudden bell interrupted his thoughts. It was the heroine who came here. She used the bell to attract everyone's attention. She raised the heavenly sword and began to swear loudly. She was the real wife of Hades, asking the goddess to stop cursing other women and burning down the town. If she has the ability, come to her. Hearing this, Hades was stunned on the spot. Unexpectedly, the heroine said she would protect him, and making herself happy were all true. And the reason why the heroine deliberately provoked the goddess was all to let everyone know that the goddess was the one who set the fire and cursed. On the other hand, Camilla was arresting Marquis Bell, and Black Gun seemed to feel the heroine's provocation. It directly rushed out of the cabin and flew away. Only then did Hades realize and asked the dragon god and the heroine why they were here. The heroine told her to shut up and stop making noise, and she would beat her up later. If you don't want to be beaten, just do what the emperor should do. As for the goddess, just leave it to her. As soon as she finished speaking, the Black Gun came towards the heroine at a very fast speed. Although the Black Gun's attack was fierce, but the heroine still resisted them one by one. But in the next second, the Black Gun split into countless pieces. But her target was not the heroine, but ordinary civilians. Tianjia. The heroine immediately deployed a large-scale protective barrier. However, there were too many of them. Just as the heroine was about to give up, Hades also deployed a barrier. The Black Guns all turned to ashes at the moment of contact, and the heroine continued to resist the remaining Black Guns. However, she also knew very well, to win, she must find the body. So she decisively threw out the heavenly sword and shouted for the goddess to come out and fight one-on-one, because she knew very well, the goddess who has been worshipped for years has a higher self-esteem than a mountain, so the other party would definitely fall for it. And sure enough, countless Black Guns instantly merged into one. Hearing this, the heroine instantly understood. The goddess Kratos was the one who reversed time. Even if the same scene appeared again, she would never repeat the same mistakes. After all, she is not the silly white sweet she was then, but Hades' dragon. She said that and raised the Black Gun, and then kicked it in half, and warned her not to hit on other people's husbands, and threw it out with all her strength. Although she successfully solved the goddess, but the heroine also consumed too much magic power, almost fainted. But at this moment, a hand grabbed her, and this person was the Scum Prince. He threatened to take the heroine back, and his sister would accept the heroine. At this time, Camilla and Chico happened to arrive. Seeing that the heroine cared about them, the Scum Prince planned to threaten the heroine with their lives. Fortunately, Hades intervened in time and successfully rescued the heroine from the Scum Prince. However, at this moment, the sword was already against his face. The Scum Prince was still arrogant, asking Hades if did he want to declare war on his own country. Hades just said with a touch of sarcasm, he hoped that when he and the heroine got married, the prince could bring the broken gun to the wedding. Then he used magic to wrap the Scum Prince, and then swung his sword to send the prince back home. After everything settled down, the people also had a change of heart towards Hades. Hades even knelt down on one knee to the heroine, in the Bucket style. "Heavenly God, I love you." Hearing Hades' confession, the heroine was very happy, but just as she was about to say yes, he suddenly remembered that the other party just wanted to use her. The heroine felt very upset, so she said insincerely that she wanted to break up. As soon as she said this, Hades' heart stopped beating on the spot. He didn't hear the heroine say she actually liked him too. At night, Hades woke up, although he heard the heroine's confession when he fainted, but now he wanted to hear it from her mouth again. The shy heroine naturally refused. She even said she had already set a rule. She would only say the words of confession 3 times a day. However, when the heroine was shyly talking nonsense, "Girly kawaii skater. Auntie, you are so cute. You can see it. Can you see it? It's so numb." After that, the two rested in Marquis Belle's territory for a period of time. During this period, Hades found that the heroine liked a teddy bear, although the heroine quickly denied it and said she was not qualified to have it. Hades still secretly bought the teddy bear and transformed it into his own appearance and gave it to her. After returning to the capital, he might not have time to take care of her, so he hoped that the bear could replace him to accompany the heroine to sleep. The next morning, Hades' brother sent a dragon to pick him up, but the dragon god Levi popped out. The flying dragons immediately bowed to Levi. This scene made the heroine feel very strange. Didn't he say only Hades and herself could see Levi? However, Levi told her only humans can't see him, just like the fighter jet that the heroine recently kept can also see him. Later, Sophia brought Camilla and Chick over, and Hades, after appointing Sophia as the acting lord, he left with them. A few days later, everyone finally arrived at the Empire's capital of the Empire, Ram. Just as they were about to arrive, several magic arrays suddenly appeared in the air and began to launch magic attacks frantically. Seeing this situation, the heroine rushed out decisively, and the situation was just as she guessed. The enemy's target was only Hades the Emperor, because Camilla and Chick behind them weren't targeted at all. So the heroine decisively drew her short sword and split the magic circle in half. And at this moment, Hades' uncle suddenly appeared. He slashed the unsuspecting heroine with a sword. Instantly, a large amount of magic power overflowed from her arm. But just as he was about to strike again, at this critical moment, Hades exposed a flaw to save the heroine. With the opponent's merciless swing of a fatal blow, Hades tightly protected the heroine and fell from the air. However, in the face of the heroine's concern, Hades, despite the heavy bleeding from his head, he still said his injury was not serious. At this moment, his uncle George came over. He didn't expect that. This sword only sealed Hades' magic power, but did not kill him. It seems that Hades is indeed as rumored, a complete monster. However, at this moment, Hades was more concerned about the black sword in the other's hand. Wang Wen said that the sword in his hand was the Sky Sword, which is a real Excalibur, not like the fake one in Hades' hand. It was because of this fake sword that it caused Hades' brother mistakenly believe that Hades was the real emperor. He then raised the real Excalibur and told Hades his plan to usurp the throne would be revealed to the world soon. Then he launched an attack magic again. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Ravi used teleportation to save everyone. However, he also consumed too much magic power, so he had to fall into a period of dormancy. So after entrusting Hades to the heroine, he disappeared. Although Hades and the heroine's magic power is sealed, they don't have to worry about enemies coming to them. because this is Hades' secret sanctuary, and there is a dragon's nest nearby, where dragons hatch their eggs. Anyone who tries to invade, they will be threatened and killed by the flying dragon guards. At this time, the heroine looked at the disappeared dragon realm. She was worried that the future she knew would come true. In the past, the sealing of magic only lasted a few hours. But this time, it was the same as the previous life. The younger brother of the former emperor kept making cruel jokes on his subjects. He not only declared Hades was a fake emperor, but also formed an army to rebel. And this conflict was later called the False Imperial Uprising. Thinking of this, the heroine blamed herself. If she had been more cautious at that time, Hades' magic would not have been sealed. Facing the self-blame of the heroine, Hades told the heroine her actions were correct. After all, the other party's target was himself, so it had nothing to do with the heroine. The only thing that mattered to her was the weapon, although she didn't know where the other party got it. But now, Hades has one more important thing to do. He just hugged the heroine, and then said sorry to the heroine. It's all his fault for not being strong enough, which led her into danger. Then everyone began to analyze the current situation. The place where they are now is a principality bordering with Crete. One of the 3 royal families rules here. However, in the past when power struggles occurred, they usually took a neutral stance. However, the prince here died on Hades' birthday, so they thought it was a curse from Hades. So imagine, it's unlikely that they will seek help. Now facing the helpless situation, everyone is speechless. But Hades calmly said that his celestial sword would return to normal in half a year, and his uncle's sword should break on its own. After all, he has sealed all the magic power of Hades and heroine. No matter how powerful the sword is, can't suppress this huge magic power for a long time. So, waiting patiently is their best choice. And they are doing nothing now. But after a month passed, what the heroine never expected was that they really did nothing. They just farmed and grew vegetables day after day. Now the heroine really couldn't bear it. Although Hades said not to act freely, but they are doing nothing now. Isn't it the same as waiting to die? However, Camilla and Chico think this simple life is not bad. After all, Hades has been wanted nationwide. Even if they want to act, they have no way. Although the heroine knows this, she can't just do nothing, because according to the newspaper reports, Hades' uncle has gathered 3 very influential officials, and they will reveal the veil of heaven and remove Hades from power. Even if they knew about it, they still maintain the same attitude. After all, they have no money or power now. Instead of wasting time worrying and struggling, it's better to continue to enjoy the present. Hearing this, the heroine was really convinced. Since they don't want to act, then she will do it herself. The newspaper said that the Dragon Knight is looking for an apprentice. As long as she can be successfully selected, she can not only earn money, but also gain more information. Seeing that the heroine was determined, Hades could only helplessly agree. The next morning, the heroine set off to the town for the assessment, but Chica also followed her. Although he said he came because he was bored, but in fact it was arranged by Hades. To protect the heroine, he asked Chick to follow her closely. If something unexpected happens, Hades asked him to hand himself over. After all, as long as he can protect the heroine, he doesn't mind sacrificing himself. Soon, the two arrived at the place to test the Dragon Knight. But there was something strange. Although it was time for the test, the examiner didn't show up. Instead, they were told to wait quietly. The bell on the tower rang. A flying dragon suddenly appeared at this time and began to attack everyone. However, when everyone was fleeing in panic, the heroine chose to pick up a weapon to fight against it. However, just as the female lead thought the dragon would give her a fatal blow, the dragon stopped its attack. A dragon knight happened to appear and stopped the test. The disturbance was actually the knight's test, and the damaged fountain was originally going to be demolished soon. The dragon just followed the instructions of the Dragon Knight. In the end, the heroine and Chick passed the assessment. But she also knew clearly the knight who stopped the dragon, Hades, who was secretly observing from a distance. And the reason why Hades intervened was because the heroine had the magic of the goddess that the dragon hated. and this dislike is deeply rooted in his soul. So the examiner couldn't stop the dragon at all. Hearing this, Camilla suddenly realized that, as the Dragon Emperor, if he wants to, he can summon all the dragons to help retake the capital. Hades confirmed this, but he won't do that at the moment. Using this move will weaken Rav's divinity. At that time his protection of the Empire will be weakened. So this move can only be used as a last resort. On the other hand, the commander of the Dragon Knights also came out to greet her, and she is the first princess of the Raven Empire. As Hades' sister, the heroine had dealt with him in her previous life. He was the prisoner of the heroine, and when she heard that Hades was coming to rescue her, he chose to commit suicide to protect his brother's safety. Even though the heroine persuaded him that she wouldn't kill him, he ended his life. In the following period, Hades would prepare a love bento for the heroine every day, but before leaving, the heroine still reminded Fighter not to steal Hades' sweet drink. Soon the heroine and Chick returned to the town, because today, it's the first day that they officially joined the Dragon Knights. So Alicia prepared a test for all the newbies, prepared a dragon baptism test. And the test content is very simple: interacting with her dragon Rosa. To become a qualified Dragon Knight, interacting with the dragon is the most basic. Then, Alicia asked everyone to interact with Rosa face to face. If Rosa responds, it means passing the test. But if Rosa doesn't respond, it's a failure. As for the losers, they can only be the lowest level patrolmen. After explaining the rules, Alicia began to explain the levels of dragons. The simplest is to judge by the color of the scales. There are 8 colors of dragons. From top to bottom, they are white, black, red, orange, yellow, green, and gray. If 2 dragons have the same color, they will be distinguished by the color of their eyes. The top is golden, and the lowest is ordinary black. Now besides the black golden dragon, the highest ranking dragon in the world is only lavender. If Levi is the god of dragons, then the black golden dragon is the king of dragons. However, the black golden dragon is almost impossible to find. Therefore, Alicia's dragon rider Rasha can be said to be among the current dragons, the highest level of dragon. As for the level of their Dragon Knights, is also distinguished by the color of the dragon. As new apprentices, the heroine and others, wearing on their arms, are blue armbands that do not belong to the dragon color. Although next, they will face the highest level of Rasha, but if the Raza responds, they will get a promotion course. If they don't get a response, don't panic, because the lowest level gray and green dragons are already on their way. Hearing this, everyone is eager to see the battle. The first one to play is Chica, who ranked first in the last training competition, although he received the mocking snort from Rasha. But it was a good sign anyway. Besides Chica's affirmation, the people who came on stage later were all ignored by Rosa. Soon it was the heroine's turn to play. However, as soon as the heroine knelt down, Rasha suddenly launched an attack. Seeing this, Alicia immediately went forward to appease Rosa and asked Chica to take the heroine away. Although the heroine dodged it in time, she was still scratched with a wound. This made the heroine very puzzled, why she as a dragon princess was rejected by the dragon. Time passed and it was evening. Hades saw the heroine return to her room with a gloomy face, so he immediately followed her. He also heard the whole story from Chica. Then Hades said that he and Levi had discussed it. They decided to give the dragon only one choice: to kill it and make it into a dish. However, all of this was decided by Hades unilaterally. Ravi didn't agree at all. The result: after all, Rosa was his citizen anyway. But Hades didn't care about these. That idiot not only dared to bully his bride, but also made the heroine unable to eat the love bento. So the only way for him to be redeemed is to become a delicious dish. Looking at Hades arguing with Lavi inside, the heroine instantly blushed. Unexpectedly, Hades would be so angry for her. So she grabbed Hades. Hikaskitis. Hades. No. Give me any master here can no gigidis. Oh no, go see dicta. After eating the bento made by Hades, the heroine, who calmed down, also made a decision. She decided to get a black dragon with golden eyes. Hearing this, Hades was also surprised. After all, he had never seen a dragon of this color. But Levi inside asked the heroine why she wanted a black dragon. And the answer is simple. That's because the black dragon's color is the same as Hades. Therefore, no matter how much effort she has to make, he must ride the black golden dragon. Then the heroine left the room, leaving Hades alone in the room. Left alone in the room blushing. The next morning, the heroine was sent to the street for patrol. The area she was responsible for was the fountain square that was destroyed last time. Soon, according to the instructions, she found her teammate with a blue armband. However, after seeing the other person clearly, the heroine was completely surprised. She would meet her here. In the previous life, Lawrence at that time was the best adjutant in the heroine's team. His wise decisions and detailed command helped the heroine win the Dragon Knights of Alicia. But Lawrence certainly didn't know this at this time. After they introduced themselves to each other, Lawrence always felt that the heroine's name was very similar to the Border Earl's runaway daughter. This scared the heroine into a cold sweat, so he quickly changed the subject, asking why the others hadn't arrived yet. But Lawrence told her that only the two of them were sent on patrol. The woman instantly felt that they were abandoned. Then on the way to patrol, Lawrence told the heroine his guess. Those apprentices who are close to dragons would start by taking care of the dragons. As for those who are not close to dragons, they were sent to patrol, to adapt to this land. As for the purpose, Lawrence guessed that it's because the dragon god is the guardian of this sky, so his people tend to protect the people on this land. Although the heroine didn't quite understand it, but she cared more about the current situation in the capital. Lawrence also knew a little about it. Compared with the rumor that Hades is a fake emperor, the imperial nobles are more concerned about when Hades celebrates his 20th birthday this year, whether His Royal Highness George would become a corpse. This is also the reason why the Empire has already issued a wanted notice, but did not send a search team. At this moment, a red dragon fell from the sky, interrupting them. The person was Prince Rishja of the Raven Empire, who is Hades' half-brother. He asked them to take him to find Alicia, and then take them there. Then Alicia left the heroine alone, although he did have something to say to the heroine. But more, he didn't want to be alone with the troublesome guy. Then the second prince didn't beat around the bush. In front of the heroine, asked Alicia which side she was on, and threatened the heroine. If the content of this conversation is leaked, he would be ready to say goodbye to his head. Back to the main story. Their uncle George suddenly claimed to be the new emperor, and expelled Hades the First, has spread throughout the empire. The key is that, between the uncle and Hades, who has the real Excalibur, the sword that had disappeared for 300 years, suddenly appeared in the uncle's hand, which was absurd in the eyes of the second prince. Although Hades was just a country bumpkin in his eyes, his identity as the Dragon Emperor was unquestionable. Alicia agreed with the second prince's point of view. Seeing this, the heroine couldn't help thinking they were good. Maybe if they explain it clearly, they might become Hades' allies. However, reality slapped him hard. The second prince also heard that Hades was married. The other party seemed to be a suspicious girl of unknown origin, although Alicia thought there might be a misunderstanding. In any case, neither he nor the second prince could stand on Hades' side, because their mothers are the princesses of two dukes, so they are the most orthodox royal family in the empire. Because of this, they inherit the ancient blood of the three families, so they cannot turn a blind eye to the atrocities. However, the most crucial point is that the other two dukes would not recognize Hades' identity, because they all believe that Hades' curse killed the crown prince, who are their half-brothers. Therefore, Alicia can only promise she would not become Hades' enemy. Then Alicia apologized to the heroine. She almost hurt her yesterday, because she knew very well her dragon attacked the heroine. It was all because they felt fear from the heroine, so she regarded her existence as a threat. Hearing that the heroine was such a powerful existence, the second prince immediately asked the heroine to stay by his side as a guard. But how could Alicia agree? But she was helpless that the red dragon had golden eyes, so she could only let the second prince do as he pleased. The first thing the second prince did was to take the heroine to meet his red dragon. However, the red dragon's reaction was even more outrageous. It just took one look and flew away. The heroine thought she was ignored, but she didn't expect the dragon to run away. The second prince couldn't believe it at all, because this situation has only happened once before. And the one who made him run away was his useless and incompetent younger brother Hades. Hades, what are you doing? Then the heroine returned home again, feeling disappointed, seeing the heroine so depressed. So he picked her up, and then fed her a strawberry he grew himself. What Hades didn't expect was that the heroine started to act coquettishly. It turned out that the heroine finally realized that when you're tired, you want to see the person you like. It's true. Why she came back so early to see Hades today? Mother, so you sorry me woke up, there's no killing at all. I didn't kill at all. However, the second prince suddenly appeared and interrupted them. But when he saw Hades clearly, he was completely dumbfounded. Unexpectedly, Hades, the king of a country, would be in this extraordinary time, was hiding in the countryside to farm. After all, he thought that Hades didn't show up to prepare for rebellion. However, he didn't expect this idiot was really playing the role of a farmer. So no matter what the second prince said, he had to pull Hades out of the mountain again. Then, under the coercion of the second prince and heroine, Hades was forced to go to the city to meet Alicia. But she was not surprised at all, because she already knew that the heroine was Long Fei. Hong Long treats the heroine as a peer, which is the best proof. However, Hades knew very well that the families behind the two could not support him, so it's useless to say more at the moment. Not to mention that he continues to be lazy and ignoring Uncle George. He would eventually explode due to the pressure. And explode. After saying that, Hades wanted to leave, but was stopped by the heroine. Seeing this, Hades just wanted to tell the heroine not to stop him, but the heroine directly tackled him with a sweeping kick. Because only in this way can Hades calm down. Listen to him, but while scolding Hades, the heroine also taught the second prince a lesson. Because Hades is like a vigilant little dog, the second prince's sharp tongue would make him very disgusted. So the second prince had to put aside his pride and talk. This was unexpected to Hades. The other party would talk to him so normally. But then again, the second prince has a sister in the castle. So Hades asked him to avoid provoking his uncle. Alicia agreed with Hades. Although they can't help much, they were happy to see Hades go do well. However, the heroine still hopes that Alicia and the second prince could lend them their power. Although they are just Hades' half-brothers and sisters, they don't want the empire to be controlled by a fake emperor. The second prince wanted to agree with the heroine, but Alicia interrupted him. After all, as royals, making decisions casually, which could lead to serious consequences. Seeing that Alicia was stubborn, the next second, she gave instructions to Camilla and Chico. While she took down Alicia, Camilla and Chick also captured the second prince. Then the heroine told Alicia, if she just wanted to live a stable life, she should have tied herself up at the beginning and threatened Hades. But in fact, she didn't do that, which means her heart is still wavering. So the heroine gave Alicia two choices: either join forces with Hades or join forces with the fake emperor. Suddenly, a soldier's report came from outside the door. This distraction gave Alicia a chance and turned around to control the heroine. In order not to expose Hades, the heroine asked them to hide Hades quickly, and she and Alicia would send them away. The soldier who came to report, it was their uncle. He got the news that Hades was hiding here, so he sent someone to burn down the town. Hearing this, Hades couldn't bear it anymore. The next second, nearby dragons gathered outside the window. Even the two of the second prince and Alicia were there. It was undoubtedly summoned by Hades. Everyone immediately rode the dragon to the town. The next scene also refreshed their cognition. They didn't expect Hades could control the dragons to put out fire. With the help of Levi, Hades quickly put out the fire. This scene also made them more convinced that Hades was the dragon rider. After the incident was resolved, the second prince also made a decision. He disregarded the opposition of his family. He chose to support Hades, and even for this, he made a red battle flag embroidered with a black dragon. So as long as Hades is willing, he can use the dragon knights he founded. Alicia also wanted to follow the second prince and support Hades. However, before that, she must first take Hades to meet someone. That is the princess of Crete, the sister of that scumbag prince Phyllis. It turned out that after he asked for help from Alicia, he has been staying in this town. Now he wants to take peaceful means to maintain the relationship between the two countries. And the best way is to marry Hades. Now the scene instantly got out of hand. It turned into a battlefield. But the only thing that surprised the heroine was Lawrence was the other party's attendant. Hades only felt that the proposal was too absurd, because Phyllis is the descendant of the goddess, and is the most likely woman to become a container. So no matter how you think about it, he couldn't possibly agree to it. Of course, let alone, he already has the heroine Long Fei. However, for being a goddess container, Phyllis is also very resistant. In order to avoid being controlled by the goddess at 14, Phyllis decided to use the remaining 6 years to dissolve the marriage between the two countries. That's why she took advantage of her brother's absence to come here secretly. Next, as long as Hades agrees, he will immediately publicly announce the marriage, because he knew very well his brother would never allow her to marry a loser. So he will definitely withdraw his support for the fake emperor. And as long as Hades accepts this proposal, Alicia also expressed her willingness to ally with Hades. But Hades still refused. But just as he was about to take the heroine back, the heroine said she could use this proposal, because she knew very well that if Hades continues to choose to give up, then the power of Uncle George will only grow bigger. Therefore, only by cooperating with Phyllis can the casualties be minimized. Keep your corner on the Book of the Smoke. It turns out that the heroine only wants to use Phyllis, the princess's name. Then she began to analyze. Phyllis asked Alicia for peace between the two countries. Then this fire disturbance happened. Then she happened to meet Hades and asked for cooperation. In this way, rumors of their love at first sight will keep emerging. Although this story is perfectly arranged, but the heroine will not let Hades to give it to others. After all, she is the one who loves Hades the most. But the only difficulty at present is that if Phyllis is a hostage, the scum prince will definitely be very angry. Of course, if Phyllis's purpose is really looking forward to the peace between the two countries, then he will definitely persuade the scum prince. Hearing this, Phileas was very satisfied with the heroine's arrangement. After letting Lawrence take charge of the next arrangements, they left here. I'm sorry I couldn't stay for this. When the heroine was about to leave, Hades, to calm the heroine down, he swore that he would never cheat on her, and he would prepare a super luxurious children's set meal. Hearing this, the heroine's anger instantly disappeared. Then when Hades was preparing dinner, the second prince and Alicia came together. It turned out that they got in touch with Hades' brother Vessel, and he was willing to support Hades. Next, they just need to wait for the troops to gather. They will make the news public. However, the second prince is still a little worried, because Vessel was engaged to the king's daughter. If he chooses to betray at a critical moment, everything will be in vain. Meanwhile, Lawrence found the heroine, because he was curious why the heroine has a look as if she knew everything. The heroine didn't plan to tell him, unless Lawrence is willing to become his subordinate. At this moment, Lawrence noticed the heroine washing the boy's underwear. Seeing this, he asked the heroine in a panic why she didn't tell Hades. Hearing this, the heroine asked him not to interfere, because if Hades knew about it, Hades might be sad to cry. The worst thing is that Hades would go on the path of terror. This outrageous answer left Lawrence confused. However, he still gave the heroine a tip to call Chica over. Let those who don't know their place to realize their own worth. This also made Hades hear the rumors. A young dragon knight apprentice is helping the heroine, and they often meet, which made Hades very sad. In order not to worry the heroine, he condescended to be the chef of the dragon knight, but he didn't expect the heroine to cheat on him first. However, just as the heroine was about to explain, Hades didn't want to listen to her excuses. Then he glared at her and closed the door. Seeing this, the heroine also hurried in. After all, if Hades was also pranked, and during the period when he didn't know, and helped by other women, here go, then you go, here go, Moshi Moshi hello, you know you gotta say you get it at all, oh you know you gotta say you get it at all. Then the heroine also explained everything to Hades. Explained everything. But this was after Hades had repeatedly assured that he would keep calm. The next day, Alicia received a secret report from Vessel. The other party has confirmed the time and place of the meeting. So as long as they gather with their army, they can launch a counterattack. However, to prevent any noise, Alicia could only send infantry and cavalry to the appointed location. The second prince was still a little worried. If all this was designed by the uncle, without the support of the dragons, wouldn't it be the same as throwing themselves into a trap? However, Hades still insisted on going. Although his magic power has not fully recovered, he can still control the dragon. He can still do it. Seeing that Hades had said so, the second prince, who was unwilling to be outdone, he would go with them. After all, he is also a top dragon hunter. Seeing this, Alicia interrupted Hades and the second prince, who were ready to bicker, and then hugged them. After all, this operation was extremely dangerous, so she hoped that they could work together and must come back alive. The next day, everyone set off early in the morning to the designated location. But just in case, Lawrence sent Chick to scout ahead. However, to their surprise, Chick, who is a directionally challenged, the direction of his reconnaissance was completely opposite to what Lawrence said. Seeing this, the second prince was confused and couldn't help wondering if the trio was reliable. The heroine asked him to rest assured, although they seem a bit unreliable, they are still very strong in their areas of expertise. On the other side, the three were still bickering, but in order to find a place to stay tonight, Chica directly pulled Lawrence to explore the way ahead. Looking at the way they were playing, the heroine couldn't help but miss their future. Seeing this, Hades asked the heroine to join them. After all, the heroine has such a good relationship with them, and he wouldn't be jealous. Hearing this, the heroine was speechless. Unexpectedly, Hades is still jealous of Lawrence. Now it's the second prince who is speechless. He asked Hades to be more generous. After all, he is also an emperor. In front of his subordinates, do something that undermines his dignity as a dragon emperor. Seeing that the two brothers are getting along so well, which made the heroine a little jealous. Hearing this, the dragon emperor was so happy, and even bragged to Camilla how cute his wife is. But what Camilla is more curious about is Lawrence's identity, because he had noticed that Lawrence would stare at the heroine whenever he had a chance. Now he has been assigned to this secret mission. It's not surprising that Hades is unhappy. Of course, besides them, the second prince must have noticed this. After all, the handover with Vessel's army may be a trap. Now the heroine also let a suspicious person join, but she doesn't say anything. Is it because she doesn't trust everyone? Hearing this, the heroine had to confess. As far as she knew, Lawrence is not Princess Felice's subordinate, but working for a scumbag prince. The reason why he didn't say it out, because Lawrence's sister was given to the king of the Keto Kingdom as a concubine. The deeds of that king also has a reputation in the Dragon God Empire. It is said that the king indulged in fornication during the day, neglecting state affairs. And Lawrence also worked for the prince. That he worked for the prince. So whether Phyllis came to seek peace secretly, whether it's true or not, it means Lawrence is still under the control of the scumbag prince. Hearing this, Camilla also understood. The heroine asked him to come over, to take the opportunity to get rid of the control of the scumbag prince. However, the heroine is also curious why Hades didn't stop it at all. Her own behavior at will. However, Hades didn't stop it, besides wanting to see what she would do, but also didn't want to bind his choice. Even if the heroine made a wrong decision, it didn't matter. Hades is very confident that, no matter who betrayed him, the one who can stand to the end must be him. It was late at night. Lawrence couldn't sleep. He went to chat with Camilla and Chico. After all, tomorrow's handover is probably a trap, because he was sure that Vessel would never stand on Hades' side. Even if they knew it was a trap, they could only choose to jump in. Then Lawrence began to analyze. If he were George, he would have led his men. He would have led a team to infiltrate the town. After all, Hades has taken away several of their elites. So as long as the enemy captures Princess Alicia, Hades will be completely isolated at that time, because he knew very well. Now, except for the heroine Long Fei, no one wants Hades to be alive anymore. So in order to prevent things from developing into the worst, Lawrence asked Zeke to tell Hades, if something unexpected happens, he should run to the dragon's nest. Although there may be the risk of being surrounded, but this hiding place is the best choice at present. However, when it comes to this, Lawrence suddenly became curious. If he was mentioned by the heroine in the afternoon, Camilla told him that the heroine hoped he can return safely to the kingdom of Ketos to save his sister. However, Chick was curious how he was sure his sister was okay now. Lawrence was not worried at all, because he had just received a letter from his sister. She said she was fine for the time being, although his family sent him to the palace to please the king. But now, the king is favoring a beautiful long-haired man, so he is safe and alone now. Lawrence suddenly motioned for them to be quiet. It turned out that there was a royal red dragon was flying towards Alicia's direction. This scene made Lawrence more certain that this meeting with Wessel was a trap, but he left Princess Felicia in town beforehand. So far, the other party probably wouldn't attack Alicia, and this is the only thing he can do for the heroine, because he didn't want to owe the heroine a favor. After all, after this is over, the two sides will return to a hostile state. Even so, he would still ensure that the final victory belongs to the heroine. At the same time, he also thinks it's a waste for the heroine to stay here. Here he can only be alone. But if she were in the kingdom of Kratos, even if she doesn't marry the prince, she can still become a Valkyrie of war. But the corresponding price is to sacrifice the heroine's happiness. Speaking of this, Lawrence is also very puzzled. What did the heroine like about Hades? Seeing this, Camilla comforted her that she should accept, instead of worrying. Otherwise, only you will suffer in the end. The next day, everyone just arrived at the designated location. They found Alicia had landed ahead of them. However, in order to avoid the horses panicking and getting out of control, the heroine went alone, asking what happened to Alicia. Hearing this, Alicia had no expression. She just said, "Please come here, the second prince." However, as soon as the heroine turned around, Alicia suddenly attacked and held her hostage. The next second, the soldiers who were ambushing nearby also appeared and surrounded them. Alicia had no time to explain, so she could only keep apologizing to the heroine. At this time, Uncle Wong also rushed over. He was determined to take this opportunity to catch Hades. Meanwhile, Alicia was still apologizing, because the deal she made with the uncle, only the second prince. As for Hades, he was powerless. Hades was furious and released his conqueror's haki, which instantly stunned all the rebel dragon knights around. But to his surprise, others didn't plan to betray him, so Hades ordered them to escape first, because he never thought that, in such a desperate situation, there were still people who were loyal to him. So he and Levi, to create time for everyone to escape. Seeing that the heroine was about to be taken away, Hades quickly controlled Alicia's red dragon to land on the ground. As for the dragon knights of Uncle Wong, Hades just waved his hand and blew up a large area. Then he jumped into the air while attacking the king and used it to instantly kill Alicia, but was stopped by the heroine in time. This behavior made Hades very angry. He asked the heroine to give him a reason not to kill the traitor. However, the heroine comforted Hades. If they continued to fight, he would be bedridden again. Before she finished, Hades lost consciousness due to the depletion of magic power. Seeing this, Uncle Wong directly grabbed the heroine and threw her down. After all, Hades had been caught, so he had no value in continuing to exist. It all happened in an instant. All this confused Alicia. This is completely different from what was agreed. The explanation ends here, and you can submit your application for free. Step 1. Like this post. Step 2. Comment with some emojis. Step 3. Share with at least one friend. Step 4. Submit your application here. The link is in the messages section. Good luck, everyone!